Hi, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for this great introduction, Adrian, and to the entire team for organizing this. I was so excited that we were coming in person to Ottawa to get to see you all. And I'm very excited that you invited me to speak today. And because there's nothing better for me than face-to-face experiences. People always say, Mohammed, you work so hard, but you're always smiling. And I always say, yes, I work 20 hours still until today. Nothing hurt except my job, because smiling has changed my life. When people smile to me when I arrived to Canada, it made me feel like a citizen already. I agree, this has been a tough couple of years. We've all been at the mercy of forces outside our control. It's been time of heartache for some and sacrifice for many. But it's also been time of discovery, hasn't it? We've learned a lot about ourselves. We've learned how we respond in a crisis, how we react under pressure, how we confront new challenges. In other words, we've learned how resilient we all are. And maybe we had the time to think about important questions, like how do we make a positive, inclusive impact in our community and in the lives of others? We should always remember that our choices and decisions matter, not only to ourselves, but to others mostly. If we're going to come back strong from this crisis, we're going to need to take what we have learned over the past 2 years and put it to work. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let me take a moment and share with you my story. Though it's not just my story, it's a familiar story. It's the story of the immigrant. It's the story of the entrepreneur. It's the story of someone who left his home, his parents, his family in search of opportunity and the chance to build a better life. I was a refugee from the civil war in Lebanon when I was 16. I went to Italy, where I wound up studying gemology and working in a jewelry store. So I'm a gemologist that sells you shawarma, basically. I only made very little money, but I learned lessons that I still use in my life and in my business today. I remember this one customer in particular, a very wealthy lady. She was trying on a very fancy watch. In my head, all I could think of my commission. I needed that money so much. That commission would have bought me my first car in Italy at the time. And there was one problem. The watch didn't suit her. It was too small on her wrist. I had a decision to make. And in that moment, I decided to be candid with her. You know how difficult to tell a woman that her wrist is too big for something that she loved so much and it was her dream watch? Don't try that one. Trust me. So in that moment, I told her. I ended up convincing her and selling her a much cheaper watch. I didn't earn that much money. But it turned out that I did take an important step in building a very strong relationship. She liked the idea of me being honest, despite that it was against my personal interest. She appreciated my honesty. She later came back and hired me. She gave me a better job with a better pay. It was an important moment for me. It taught me the value of thinking long-term, bigger picture, not short-term. It also taught me that relationships are important because they last longer than a single sale, a single moment. And it showed me that my decisions have an impact. As an immigrant, I landed in Canada with less than $1,200 in my pocket. I wasn't afraid to start at the bottom. I lived in a shared basement apartment. I worked at a coffee shop. I learned the very strange tradition of talking always about the weather, even when the weather wasn't really interesting. And by the way, that's one skill I've never really was able to master. It's hot, it's snowing, well, who cares? Working in those coffee shops, I had a goal. I wanted to earn money so I could build something of my own. People didn't accept to hire me as a gemologist. They didn't want to put a new immigrant in a jewelry store. They questioned my honesty just simply because I was a newcomer. They thought it wouldn't be safe for their business to hire me in a jewelry store. So I worked in a coffee shop and I wanted to build a business. Fast forward, one day my wife sent me into a restaurant to buy a baklava for my family. I started talking to the owner. His place was in trouble. His place called Paramount at the time, and it still is Paramount. It was near bankruptcy. At that point, I have saved up just enough money. I wanted to help him and his 16 chefs to stay in the country. I realized once again that my decision had impact. When he approached me and asked me for a loan while I'm buying the baklava, I handed him a card, hoping that he'll never call me. I didn't know the man. When I got to my car, I realized that that was that same moment that someone else helped me, and I should help that person. I always say to everyone, making a difference in life comes as a surprise. And that's why you have to decide the kind of person you want to be. Are you going to be that person that help people, show up for your community, or are you just going to be someone that stands and watch people, do nothing about it, and just think about yourself, your bank account? Use all the lessons you learned just to benefit only you and your own immediate family. Or you want to show leadership beyond the border of your family, beyond the border of your company, your boardroom, beyond the border of your only even country. I think we all have a bigger opportunity to show and use the lesson to help others. So I decided to take a chance. I called the man and I said, come see me, I want to help. He came to see me. He didn't want to stay. He wanted to go back to Dubai, but he wanted to save the business. And he helped me, and we saved Paramount Fine Food. I made him an offer to stay on a little bit. He said yes. And that was the start of something for me. Right away, I put the lessons from Italy to work, making smarter choices, building a relationship, thinking long-term, understanding the importance of resilience, because there are always a problem and pitfalls. Today, my company, Paramount Fine Food, has more than 75 locations worldwide and over 1,500 employees. And I did all this selling the food that I love from the country that I love. I'm not going to talk too much about my business, but I do want to share with you the philosophy that I followed in building my business, because I believe that can be useful no matter what path you're following in life. We all want to be successful. We all want to make a profit, money. But there are a lot of ways how we get there. Some people focus on driving down costs. Some focus on short-term actions. I think there is a better way, a more sustainable way. In my business life, I think of a profit as a destination. How do we get there? For me, I try to get to profit by focusing on people, planet, and building a sense of purpose. Let's start with people. From the moment I went into business for myself, I would always get advice. Friends, family, complete strangers, they would come up to me and just to start talking, they want to have a conversation. So many times people say to me, Mohamad, always remember, the customer comes first. The customer always comes first. But you know what? Every time I thought about that, I actually smiled to people, but couldn't even agree. And then I decided to tell them, no, that's not true. Not for a CEO, not for a manager, not for a boss. It's our employees who should come first. It's our job to take care of our employees, our people, so our people can take care of our customers and our clients and do the work that we trust them to. And maybe that sounds crazy to everyone, but I trust my people, from the most senior person to our newest hire. I've been saying this for 15, 20 years. Let me tell you, after building many, many businesses, people know me, Mohamad, from Paramount. I own other businesses. I came to realize that the biggest asset a business can have is its people. The employees are the biggest asset anyone can have. And if we understand that and we realize that, we do put them first. I make sure that they have what they need so they can focus on our customers and on the job at hand. For me, that means getting out in the restaurant floor or in the kitchen so I know what's going on in my restaurant, and so people get a chance to talk to the boss. And it means sharing a meal with my team so we can learn about each other and learn from each other. Even during the worst of the pandemic, I made sure that my team get together every single morning on a Zoom call so I could be sure that people were doing okay. So we used to wake up every morning, start with a check-in call and ask 2 questions, and children and pets allowed, and or even spouses. And the question was always, what kept you up last night? And wants something good to celebrate so we can all join and celebrate together. So they didn't feel that they were alone, and we didn't feel that we were disconnected. People become more successful when they are supported and sincerely engaged. Focusing on people also means that you serve to them as a mentor, because I know from my own life how much you can learn from someone who believes in you. A lot of people believed in me. A lot of people mentored me. They made a big difference in my life. When I started my business, the vision was mine, but the credit for success goes equally to my people. I have many people in my company that they're much smarter than I am, and I do listen to them. We built the company together. I take care of them, and they take care of each other and every single customer who come through the door. Every single day, I share my success with my team, and I remind them how important they are. When our revenue dropped 95% in the first month of the pandemic, just imagine the image. I'm sitting in my boardroom, 3 accountants walk in, holding big lists of names. They put it in front of me. And they told me, these are the people we need to let go. We have to downsize. I said, no, it doesn't work that way. Not one single glass of milk will be removed from the table of anyone who had worked at Paramount. We can wait. These people had made us who we are today. We have to promise them that Paramount goes beyond just a job. We're a family. If I ran out of money, would I just pick one of my children out, or I'll share what I have with them? If I have promised them that they are my family, we're going to treat them like one. We're going to pay full salaries for the first 2 months, and let's see what happens. And we did. And then the government did the short-term layoff. And when we laid them off on short-term, we topped them up. We used the top-up. So not even a glass of milk will be missing. And then we did more. My people thought I was crazy. They thought I was even crazier when I said, let's lower the prices in Paramount for every single item. We wanted to send an important message to the community, a message that people will remember. I sent a message that said, we know you're going through tough times. I want the $10 that you spend at Paramount to buy you much more. Not because you need it, but because you need to feel safe. And we are here to help. Despite that the restaurant industry was decimated, we are here to help. I'll get to the community in a second. When it comes to people, I would not forgive myself if I did not say this to all of you, especially in an event like this. In Canada, diversity is a fact. We only have to walk down the street of any of our city to understand that we welcome the world to our country. But inclusion is our choice. Who you choose to hire is a choice. Yes, diversity is a fact and inclusion is a choice. I have to laugh sometimes when I keep reading this news article where these experts say things like, oh, we need more diversity in the workplace more diversity in senior position. But how do we get there? How on earth do we attract these people? I'll tell you how you do it. By doing it. You hire them, you train them, you support them, you promote them. You promote your company that you're welcoming to newcomer. You promote your company that you welcome immigrants. You promote that your company is open and inclusive to everyone, regardless their color and their background, regardless when they came to our country. You show them that they are welcome, not only welcome, but valued. The workplace is two-way street. It's not one-way street. On one hand, employees need to take the initiative and develop skills that make them valuable and make them in demand. But there's another side to this street. Business owners, employers, people in position of authority, they need to understand that their people are their most important assets. Leaders need to embrace this. They need to value their employees, listen to them, care about them, invest in them. Here's what I know for a fact. Canada's only path to greater prosperity relies on the immigrant contribution. Point. But it's a competitive world out there. You have to make people want to come to Canada. You don't do that by sidelining or discriminating against whole groups of people. You don't do it by rejecting the skills experience that people acquire in their home country. You can't put up barriers. You have to take them down. Why do we believe that Canadian experience is much greater than other international experiences? Why do we want our team and the people we hire, that they all arrive to our company having the same kind of experiences? We actually should be encouraging international experiences to our team. As employers, as people with authority to hire, please do not hire people just because they have Canadian experience, or do not hire them because they don't have Canadian experience. Hire people mostly for their attitude. And the best attitude is the immigrant attitude. That hungriness. Immigrants arrive here hungry and they stay hungry for many, many more years. I'm here to tell you all, I'm still hungry. And that wanting to build a better life, wanting to make a difference in the country that welcomed me, wanting to help Canada, my love to Canada, my love to Canadian comes from the immigrant hungriness and appreciation and gratitude for the people that gave me an opportunity. So there's nothing better than that. We can't put up barriers. We have to take them down. And it has to be clear that the promise of Canada includes not only the acceptance and celebration of new Canadians. The Canadian promise also must prove that opportunity here is at least as big as anywhere else in the world. That's the Canadian dream. That's the dream that we don't speak often of, that we should speak more about the Canadian dream. And that's the Canadian dream that brought me here and gave me my biggest opportunity, but we have to protect it. In fact, 10 years from now, Canada will not exist as we know it and as we want it to be, unless we are aggressive in continually increasing the number of immigrants we attract. We have to do this for our country. So to all of you who have the authority to hire people, I say this. In my life, I have been both a refugee and an immigrant. I have been both an employee and a business owner. I have been hired as a newcomer to Canada, and I have hired hundreds of newcomers to work in my restaurant. I can tell you straight from my heart, your business will do better when your workforce resembles your community and your country. I encourage you to build teams that reflect the country we share. You won't regret it. I'm going to talk now about purpose and planet. Because to me, these two things go together. And when I talk about planet, yeah, I'm talking about acting in a very responsible way. More sustainable packaging for takeout in the food industry, recycling in other businesses are just an example. But when I talk about the planet, I'm also talking about giving back, about helping to build a better community and a better world. When I was a boy in Lebanon, my mother would have this little box, it says Sadaqah on it, voluntarily giving. She had it at the front door for the spark change from our pockets. Sadaqah is something that we learned since we were children. It's in the Jewish religion, it's in the Muslim religion, it's in every religion, and people know about giving back, even they're not from any religion. My mom used to use that money to feed anyone who needed a meal. My father, during the Civil War, when the rations ran out, him and his construction worker used to travel even sometimes to cross the border in Syria to bring some flour and other ingredients. When he got back, my brother and I, we used to bake pita and give it away for free because no one had any money so they could pay for it. I can still picture the faces of the people that we helped. How grateful they were just to have something to eat, and how good it made them feel that someone else is thinking about them, and how good it made us feel that we are able to help. So believe me when I tell you, I've understood from a young age that success in life starts by having a purpose that goes beyond just making money. A purpose-driven culture brings people together. It makes people excited to come to work and contribute. Giving people money to come work for you isn't the only reason why people want to work for a company. People do not work for companies and brands. People work for people. And people want a better reason why they work for a company. So you keep thinking about retention. You keep thinking, we hear a lot of these nice words these days. Let's maintain our staff. How do we maintain our staff? Purpose is the answer. When you show that your organization is concerned about the larger world, you get a bigger buy-in from your people. Everyone wants to be part of something bigger than themselves. Every single one. My team and I raise money for a lot of different causes and groups. Giving quickly becomes very personal. It's the best feeling in this world. Waking up and being excited by the day that is booked in my calendar. It might be a cooking session in the Region Park for people in need, or delivering meal of gratitude to frontline workers during the pandemic. Maybe it's the faces of the children I met in Lebanon after the Beirut explosion, when all of us Canadians came together and donated. Or the feeling when we made sure that Mississauga Food Bank did not run out of money during this pandemic. It's not just me, but my staff too, who become completely and emotionally involved and attached to the causes that we take up and the people that we help. And not only my staff, even their children. I have children of my executive that they came up to me and said, I did a lemonade stand for your cause last night. You know what does that mean? That means they're taking Paramount home in the best way possible. That what we do is impacting on teaching their children the best thing we could teach our children, which is kindness. We might not be always changing someone's life, but at minimum, we're making their day better or much better. It builds a shared sense of purpose among our employees. It inspires loyalty. But I really want to be clear about something. When I talk about building a sense of purpose, I'm not talking about holding one-time event or putting some flyer up on a cork board. It has to be about more than lip service. You have to make it real in good times, but especially in bad times, not just when it's convenient. When your purpose is centered on giving back and making your community stronger, then in return, you will be supported, both internally by your own people who wants to be part of something that they can be proud of, or externally by people who will be happy to be your client and your customer. Let me tell you something that I feel in my heart. It can be lonely for people out in the world, and not just because of the pandemic. These days, people are more cut off from others. They don't share the same kind of connection that they used to share. There is a void there, and we can help fill that void. Purpose is the key. It's that simple for me. When you build this way, success is more sustainable and it's longer lasting. Maybe some of you are skeptical. You're thinking, well, that's a nice theory. But I can tell you it's not a theory. It's a recipe for success. You can be progressive. You can be helpful. You can have empathy. There is a lot of ways you can describe this. Some might call it share the prosperity. I think of it as kinder capitalism. Because yes, those two words actually can go together. I'm very much a capitalist. I work to build businesses that make profit and make money. I believe in the value of hard work, but I also know that cutting costs, walking over your supplier and your staff, driving your people to exhaustion, it leads to very short-term gain. You alienate your workers, you alienate your community. There is a better way, a kinder way. Kinder capitalism doesn't mean that the government does any more or less. It's not about the government at all. It's about being smart in your business decision. Above all, it's about understanding that there is more than just one way to get to profit. And it's all about knowing that you only can build a successful business if you support your staff and the community, and then they support you back. Before I conclude, I want to talk to you about that last P, because we spoke about people, planet, purpose, and the last P is philosophy. What is our philosophy toward our business? What is the core idea that guides our decision? For me, the answer is forward, always forward. In any challenging moment, the easy thing to say or to do is to look backward. You might say, I miss how things were. I wanted to go back and to do things differently. This is wasted energy. Look forward, always forward. When restaurants were closed, because of COVID, our revenue went down over 90%. What did we do? Yes, we started doing delivery, but we had big spaces. A lot of people did that. We did more. We launched 3 concepts in the middle of the pandemic. We hired people during the pandemic. We launched a Crispo chicken, pizza with Massimo Capra. We entered Raba in the supermarkets. Everybody said, what's wrong with this guy? He's nuts. He's lost his mind. He's using his cash in the pandemic, and he's hiring people. Well, that was my thinking. It was different. The way I saw it, we needed to be a little bit like a shark and like a goldfish. A shark goes always forward. To survive, they move forward all the time. A goldfish has a very short memory. So it's never going to fall into the trap of getting nostalgic of how things used to be, and will not be held back what people said, what happened before. It's all about now and what's next. Don't waste your time looking back. Don't lose momentum by slowing down. I'm also a guy that's never satisfied, because I know there is always something more I could be doing that could help me and help the community. More for building my business, more for giving back, and more for helping others. There is no money worth having in life if it's only for you. And there is no knowledge that it's worth you having unless you share it with someone else. Why do you want to take it to your grave? Share it with other people. Share it with younger leaders. Some people build something and then they stop. They're happy with what they've achieved. I say to them, sure, you like your business now, but why not make it 3 times better and impact 3 times the amount of people? Resilience is an excellent building block for confidence. And I'm so confident about Canada, so confident about our prospect as we emerge from the crisis of the pandemic. I continue to invest in new business ventures, including restaurant brand, real estate, roofing company, and a business consulting firm, because people know me, Mohamad Paramount. I have other businesses. You know the old saying, a crisis is a terrible thing to waste. It means a challenging time to create opportunity if you're bold enough to take them on. To survive, to grow, you must always, always be moving forward. And for me, the beautiful, positive thing I'm seeing is that when our corporate culture was tested, we found out that our culture ran deep. We confirmed at Paramount that our commitment to people, purpose, planet before profit was real. And our philosophy, you have to be a shark and a little bit like a goldfish. It helps. My team worried about each other. They put other people first. They kept pushing me to do more things in the community. even when times were hard. I have one last thing to share with you today. I grew up during the Civil War in Lebanon. I spent nights hiding in bunkers, hoping that we would see the morning. I tell you, a minute felt like an hour down there. And what a great feeling it was when morning came. What a great feeling it was to get through a time of challenge together, to see a new day and to get a fresh start. Yes, there were still uncertainties. There will always be unknown and risk. But when war ended, the first thought on my father's mind was, let's build, let's start a new business. Let's hire new people. That is resilience. We have all been through a tough time, business owners, employees, families, everybody. But the light will come. A new day will come. We can greet it together. The world is changing. The business world is changing. And people in business, especially CEOs, need to keep up with that change. We in Canada can choose to lead to a new world where we can put the two worlds together, kindness and capitalism, real inclusive leadership. Inclusive because that's the only way that we can continue to be the envy of the world, doing the hard work of building a prosperous and fair society, building a place where someone called Mohamad, with a heavy accent that I would love to keep, who is a Muslim from the other side of the world, has unlimited opportunity to contribute to our collective success, not held back or restrained, not only needed, but wanted and celebrated. We can then keep building and keep moving forward with the pride and with purpose. We owe it to our country and we owe it to our next generation. Thank you.
Mohamad, thank you so much for that insightful, incisive, impassioned, engaging presentation. And I will certainly remember that metaphor of the shark and the goldfish for a very, very long time. I've never heard that before. So thank you for that. Mohamad, I wanted to ask you about the effect that your approach to your business, your philosophy has had in a concrete way on your employees themselves, on the managers within your organization. So how does your philosophy kind of filter down, and how has it affected the way in which your employees engage with the company? How has it affected their own relationship with the company, particularly with regard to how they approach their own work?
It's all about, I always say, we become what we celebrate in life. So in business and in community, we become what we celebrate. And if they see the company refusing certain amount or certain type of people to join the company, right, they'll create their list and they'll say, oh, we will not hire that person or this person or those skills or that skills or that. So when they see us celebrating the new chef that we brought from Syria, or the new Afghani employee that we just hired, and celebrate them and give them opportunity to grow, they will start acting the same way. When they see us, that a celebration for us is not celebrating someone that just got rich from our franchisee, but someone who just did a donation to a school, we become what we celebrate. And the staff and the executive and the manager, their proposition of doing anything in the workplace will be based on that family and that oneness, and the we, not the I, and the we is beyond the border of our boardrooms, and the we is beyond the border of the Paramount staff. When the pandemic started, my wife said, what are you doing? Like, you're leaving everybody, like the streets are empty, our neighbors are not going out of the house. I said, listen, I mean, I have 3 boys, but these are not my only children. This is the country that supported me when I was poor. I'm coming out and I'm cooking. And that's what I'm going to do during the pandemic. And she said, but you're going to put the kids at risk. I said, I'll move. I'll move for a month. I'll see them through a glass, but I will do it. And I did. I did. We are very proud to have fed over 170,000 meals during the pandemic. When everything was dry and the money wasn't coming in. But let me tell you what the staff did. They came out with me. They were shoulder to shoulder with me. the bonding was bigger and better. And our marketing department does not, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, people wanted me to put my picture eating shawarma to advertise Paramount. I said, don't worry, I have a face for a radio. Don't put my picture anywhere. Okay, let's just feed the shawarma to the poor. And I think the community will support us. And now our marketing department think that way, operate that way. Our staff don't say, I don't have time to come out on a Sunday morning to cook for the poor and to slice shawarma for the homeless. They come out with a smile and they bring their children. It's not something nice that we do. It's not something about work that we do. It's the way we do business. It's the way you need to do business. It's the way we do business. And that's the culture.
Mm-hmm. It's evident that you clearly have some qualities that have put you in good stead over the course of your career, qualities that clearly have contributed to your success. The fact that you approach your work with a certain kind of humility, the fact that you're able to evolve over time, the fact that you're able to listen. You talked about the fact that many of the people, many of your employees are smarter than you are, and that they have much to teach you. I'm curious as to some things that you didn't know when you began your work with Paramount. Some things that you didn't know then that you know now. So what are those kind of lessons? What are the things that you perhaps wish you knew when you first started your business?
Well, let me start by saying I didn't know how to fry an egg, and I bought a restaurant. So now I know how to fry an egg, and much more than that. So look, building a business, if you're building it on one person, you're already starting off wrong. You need to build it and based on hiring people smarter than yourself, and build it on counting on other people to help you and lean on their experience. A lot of my friends hire the best executive in the world not to listen to them. So, I mean, and I'm very surprised. Why do you do that? Just because they want a nice resume and say, oh, you know, by the way, that's John, and that's where he worked before me. But when they sit in one room, they simply don't listen to them, or they act like they do listen to them, but really don't listen to them. So one of the biggest recommendation when you hire someone, just listen to them, right? And it's simple, it sounds silly, but that's the reality and that's the truth. I learned a lot. And I learned one of the best thing I learned is I never let my accent and my name and that I'm Muslim to make my voice not heard. And a lot of time you feel intimidated by that. And I did not only learn that, I actually took it to court. I actually took hate to court just for being Muslim. Someone just hated me because I'm Muslim, and I wanted that precedence. I was ready to spend $500,000 to set a precedence that in our country, you do not hate people, attack them, try to intimidate them, and not let them win or succeed just because they're from a background or they have a name different than yours. And I got that precedence documented for every other Canadian to tap into it. And I donated, created the funds for the money that I collected, or I will be collecting more, right, for other people to tap into that money. I learned that success, you're never going to become a legend or successful on your own. It takes your team, it takes your family, and it takes a community. And when somebody thinks that they're successful, they just haven't seen it. When I got the Order of Canada, wasn't mine, was every immigrant in this country. Was every immigrant in this country. And I still hold it because I want other immigrants to see it. When I put the name Paramount on the arena in Mississauga, wasn't mine. Was for every Paramount employee that helped and served, and for every immigrant to see that our name could be held up. And Canada will support that. That's the Canadian dream that we need to protect and talk more often about. I learned as well that you really need to think about the greater community, always, always. And I learned that CEO should not be listening a lot to their shareholders. The shareholder should be listening to the CEO. And if shareholder wants to make money, they need to put their employee first, not to cut their employee first. I think our pyramid in the corporate world is upside down. We have the smartest people in the world running companies that they don't lead and weigh in our issues in our country because they consider it against the interest of their company. Well, how is that possible when the interest of the company is the interest of the country? And your leadership is needed at all levels. So I learned all this, and I'm not ready at any time to actually keep it to myself. I keep talking about it, and I'm very loud about it.
You're very critical, Mohamad, of those organizations that you say emphasize the need for Canadian experience. You say that they are losing a lot when they adopt that approach. What do you think they mean when they say they want Canadian experience? What exactly? What are they saying when they say that?
I think it just. I think it makes them feel important, and I think actually is a very empty, and I don't think they deserve respect if they actually are ready to bring it in an interview. You know, beyond the last year and a half has been employees market. I encouraged people 10 years ago not to work for companies that demand that. Despite that, your answer, I've had 5 years Canadian experience. If you ask an employee that you need a Canadian experience, if somebody asks on the phone, any employee, even if you have the Canadian experience, do not work for that company, because you will not be subjected to experiences that you did not learn before, right? And what they mean, basically, they're not ready to invest in people. That's a straight message. And we're not welcoming. And for me, if you're not ready to invest in people and you're not welcoming, you're not inclusive, you're not Canadian. I'm not coming to Canada to live a different dream. The Canadian dream is to be welcome, is to welcome people, to include them, to celebrate them, to give them the order of Canada, even if they have a heavy accent. That's the Canadian dream. If your company wants a Canadian experience, that means your company hired for the wrong reason. Hire people for their attitude and for grit. Don't hire them for the past only experiences. Experiences could be gained in Canada. You can't teach someone attitude. You can't create a grit in someone. You could encourage them. You could create positive environment, but they need to have the right attitude. And for you to limit them just because they came from another country, like they have the courage to leave their home. They have the courage to leave their parents. They have the courage to leave everything behind. You know how hungry they are for your company to succeed, and does not only help them, it helps your company. It helps your other staff to want to catch up with them and want to work like them and show the hunger they're showing. So it's good for you every way. And if you do not have leadership enough to see that, I don't think you should lead the company.
You've said the word kindness on a number of occasions throughout this presentation. You talked about trying to, being an advocate of a kinder capitalism. You acknowledge that you're a capitalist, but you want it to be a kinder capitalism. I'm wondering, is there room for labor? Is there room for unions in your kinder capitalism? If so, what is that role?
Well, of course, there is a role for everyone in it, but we all have to change the way we do things. And if that pandemic did not make us change the way we do things, we're missing out. And the world will change on everybody if we do not change the way we do it. There is a role for everyone to change it, but yet, I mean, it's implementing kind of capitalism, and the way we do things is different anymore. Like cutting costs and doing things, not thinking of other people the same way, and thinking about the bottom line of what you want to achieve. The bottom line has changed. The bottom line has changed. Everybody now talks about these difficult letters, ESG and this and that. We talked about that 20 years ago. The bottom line is not only one way. It changed. It has a change. And the people who's missing out. Yeah, I had a conversation with one of the top CEOs of Canada, and there was a public conversation. He said, but Mohamad, we make $100 million every 3 months. I said, yeah, you're missing 300 more. There's 300 million you're not making. You're just not realizing it because you simply don't know how to live that way. And union has to change the way they think too. It's changed.
And this is from the audience. What was your most successful way to make contact with immigrants so you could hire them?
Oh, the most successful way is come out and say, we're going to hire you. I said it. It makes me laugh when I see people in CEO dressed up in much nicer suit than the one I borrowed this morning and everything. And, we would love to hire them, but we don't know how to hire them. Well, your company doesn't look like we'll hire a hijabi or a black person easily. And if you hire them, you might keep them there for 20 years at the same 3 jobs. Are you ready to step down as a CEO and put a black person or a Mohamad instead of you? And if you do, then you have a problem in communication. But how come you don't have a problem in communicating their success or your share price or your success in business, but you have a problem in communicating how welcoming you are and inclusive you are? Come on. It's intentional miscommunication, is intentional not knowing, because you do not have that grit inside of you that you want it badly, but yet you want the success of acting like you do. It doesn't work. All have an opportunity. Canada has an opportunity to lead the world with kind of capitalism. We can send a message to the rest of the world that in Canada we could do business and do it in a very, very successful way, but in a kind way.
Mm-hmm. Mohamad, do you have a final message to young immigrants who are getting started in entrepreneurship?
Of course, I love Canada. I love Canadian. The Canadian dream is the best dream on earth. Don't kid yourself. When we were in Lebanon, when you live in any other country, the American dream used to be, because we watch a lot of American movies, we have a much better dream. Canada has a much better dream. Canada will give you the biggest opportunity in your life if you want it. Don't tell me it's luck. It's not luck. It's persistent, it's a grit, and it's you wanting and being courageous enough to grab that opportunity. You owe it to Canada that you do everything you can. You owe it to every immigrant coming to this country, because whatever I do, I'm an ambassador to every other immigrant that came to this country. And I will do everything I can to always give back to Canada, because I love this country and I love its people. And forever I'll be grateful to whatever I experience in this country. And that's why, to every immigrant, never ever let anyone tell you that the color of your skin, the religion that you're from, your name will stop you from achieving the highest office in this land. Thank you.
Mohamad Fakih, thank you so much for joining us and for that wonderful presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful day.